Yo, Cultural Confederates, happy Friday. So there's a lot of news out there. We have this Walz guy, this shakeup at the White House. This Walz guy, he's now a UN ambassador, I think it is. People are saying he got fired from his other position. Seems like Trump likes to move people around. Fire them or move them around. But there's a lot of news out there. So welcome back to the channel, Culture Confederacy. Here, as I said, Friday night. We're going to do this in one take because I got to get ready for work in like 20 minutes. It's one of those type of videos. And thank you again for watching, subscribing, and being a part of this thing called the Culture Confederacy. So we have a secession movement. I want to start off with this. Secession movement in Canada, in Alberta. Listen to this. So this came out yesterday. And this is at the Calgary Herald. And then Trump's going to be stripping the funding from NPR. Oh, they had their panties in a wad over that one. Remember the USS United States that they're going to sink off the coast of Florida? Well, now people in New York are suing. Sue me and I'll secede. That's right, baby. Sue me and I'll secede. So, up yours. Can you tell I'm having fun tonight? So at any rate, again, thank you for watching, subscribing, being a part of this thing called the Culture Confederacy. So it says here, once again, Calgary Herald, according to Bell. What's this lady's name? Okay, well, you have the Premier, Danielle Smith. Danielle Smith. There you go. Prepares to speak with Prime Minister Mark Carney on whether Ottawa will stop giving Alberta the shaft. Seems like history's repeating itself. Seems like we had this same problem in 1775, 1776, 1860, 1861, now in 2025. And there's an article, I'm going to save this for Sunday night's video, just for the sake of time. There's an article about these reenactments they're doing, this celebration of Lexington and Concord, these battles for the American Revolution. That was a very interesting time. That was an awesome time. Great time for art, music, but there was a lot of political upheaval, as you know, especially with the American Revolution, the French Revolution, other things that were going on in the world at the time. So it says here, Bill, Albertans will get a vote on Alberta independence. Bet on it, baby. Sue me and I'll secede. Story by Rick Bell. This was published yesterday, the 1st, May 1st. So it says here, there will be a vote by Albertans on Alberta independence. Everyone who has their ear to the ground agrees. They say you can bet the farm on it. Bet the farm, sell it all. We're seceding. And just in fact, there's an almost certain vote on Alberta independence looming on the horizon will be a message heard across the country and right into the office of Prime Minister Mark Carney. You see, under changes being brought in by Alberta Premier Danielle Smith, the question of Alberta independence from Canada will be put to a vote of Albertans if the following happens. So you have to have a referendum for this. If a total of 177,000, there you go, Albertans' names are gathered over 120 days, say they want Albertans to have their way, secede here. They have to do this in a referendum vote, as I just mentioned. Now, Smith setting the magic number at 177,000, say that 10 times, hasn't even been passed by the legislature yet. The federal election just wrapped up this week, and the Alberta Prosperity Project, as of Thursday afternoon, already had 126,000 people pledging to back a vote. So they'll need to reach that magic number of 177,000. So a little secession movement happening in Canada, in Alberta, because Ottawa's giving them the shaft. New York Times, moving right along here. As I said, a lot of news out there. NPR and PBS vow to fight Trump's order to cut funding. NPR called the order, which could upend public media, an affront to the First Amendment. President Trump's executive order to defund NPR. I'm screwing up tonight. Oh, well, it's one take. To defund, pardon me. See, I'm getting all choked up here. To defund NPR and PBS was met. I told you, sorry. Let me get long-winded. Got a little air in my throat, so just bear with me. So President Trump's executive order to defund NPR and PBS, give me a round of applause, I got it right, was met with fiery pushback on Friday as the organizations challenged the legality of the move and said it could jeopardize access to vital information. Vital information. We have vital information here at NPR and PBS, and we have to share it with the public. Even though, you flip our bill here, we got to share this information with you. Corporation for Public Broadcasting. The order issued late Thursday, as I said, instructs the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which receives and distributes over $500 million in taxpayer money, $500 million, to public TV and radio stations annually, to eliminate millions of dollars in federal funding to the two public media organizations. They say here it's the most significant threat in decades, or this decades-long campaign by Republicans to weaken NPR and PBS. Sorry, no, you guys just suck. Patricia Harrison, the chief executive of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private company, said in a statement that the White House had no legal authority over the company. NPR vowed to challenge the order, calling it an affront to the First Amendment. Paul Kerger, the chief executive of PBS, also called Mr. Trump's executive order illegal. Quote, the president's blatantly unlawful executive order issued in the middle of the night threatens our ability to serve the American public with educational programming as we have for the past 50-plus years. Educational programming. If you ask any 15, 16-year-old, do you think they want to be in school all day? Learning about, logarithms? No, I don't think so. Or algebra? No, I don't think so. You're teaching these people stuff that they probably don't need or they're not going to use. Now, if you're going to be an engineer or something like that, okay. But a lot of this stuff, let's admit it, it's just rehashed garbage just to keep kids occupied in school. That's what it is. The schools have become, television as well, has become a babysitter. So that's going on out there. Moving right along here. This is also the 50th anniversary of Vietnam, the end of the Vietnam War. There's an article about this at Channel 2 WGRZ. I believe this is New York. It says, reflecting on U.S. veterans' experiences 50 years after the fall of South Vietnam. Now, some 50 years later, we can look back at the times and the mood of the country and the effect that it has on those who have served. And God bless our veterans, our firefighters, our policemen, those of you in the military. Buffalo, New York. The names etched on the Vietnam War Memorial on the Buffalo waterfront are among over 58,000 men and women who died in that conflict. 58,000. Now, some 50 years later, we can look back at the times and the mood of the country and the effect that it had on those who served. From the real veteran relic machines like a Cobra helicopter gunship perched on a metal stand as a war memorial in Tawanda, hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, to a Navy patrol boat on display at the Naval Park, to again these names in these particular memorial walls, they help us to never forget what was going on in the jungles of Southeast Asia and how that became a reality for very young men and women back then. And there's a very interesting quote I want to share with you. When I read this, it really hit me. It really hit me hard when I read this. So they had this reporter interview somebody who was a veteran, who I think was in the Navy at the time, was in Vietnam. And it says here that Navy veteran Peter Golo recalled, quote, we were in high school. We feared nothing. We were young, foolish, nothing could hurt us. But then in reality, when I finally got in, I saw the reality of war. And it wasn't easy to take. I wondered about it sometimes, whether or not I was going to survive. He goes on to talk about a friend that they had that went off to war. And he said within a year, or he joined the Marine Corps. And next thing you know, within a year, he's gone. But he said coming back was the hardest because when you got into the airport, you could see people would yell at you, and especially the guys that were wounded in wheelchairs and stuff, and they were getting a lot of negative attention and things like that, so you just shut up. You didn't say anything about it. You couldn't fight back then. All these Vietnam, anti-war protesters. But fortunately, they have their pride back, but Navy veteran Mike Guglio points out that some were still suffering with illnesses such as cancer from exposure to a chemical defoliant used by the military to clear the thick jungle canopy back then. Of course, that's Agent Orange. But they go on to say here, now ironically, the thriving country of Vietnam, which also observed the anniversary with events in their capital city, is now viewed as a potential military ally against China in the South Pacific region. And finally, we have this lawsuit Let me look at this here real quick. We have this lawsuit to stop Okaloosa County in Florida from sinking the SS United States. I did a story about this, or a video about this a while back. Let me see when this came out. This came out April 29th. It says here, nobody said Okaloosa County's voyage with the SS United States would be smooth sailing. A group out of Brooklyn, New York has filed a lawsuit pardon me, to prevent Okaloosa officials from sinking the ship. Last fall, Okaloosa County commissioners voted to buy the SS United States for $10 million, then have it sunk 20 miles off the coast of Destin, creating the world's largest artificial reef. The idea is to attract divers and fishermen, boosting tourism in the area in Florida. The ship still holds the record for crossing the Atlantic. It carried 4 presidents, dozens of celebrities before being retired in 1969, etc. But the investors tried to refurbish it for a while, and then things went south. They couldn't find a buyer for this. It was sitting at the port of Philadelphia for a long time. The sale and 2-week journey into the Gulf generated worldwide news. That's when the New York Coalition to Save the Steamship United States, Inc. was formed. Members believe the historic steamship should be saved and turned into a floating hotel or museum in Brooklyn. Well, there's an idea. But I guess Florida beat New York to it. The group first appealed to President Trump to stop Okaloosa's plans, and then came the lawsuit. Okaloosa officials filed a motion to dismiss the lawsuit, pointing out the ship has been sitting unwanted since the mid-1990s, but a federal judge refused. The coalition has not offered any financial plans for moving the ship back to Brooklyn or renovating it for future use. But meanwhile, it's sitting in the shipyard in Mobile, and these crews are trying to strip it so they can send it down to Florida to have it be sunk off the coast of Florida. So that's what's out there. As I said, another one-take video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you know what to do. So a lot of news out there. We've got this secession movement up in Canada and Alberta. Trump is going to strip funding from NPR. Got people suing over a rotting ship. Isn't life great? I told you I couldn't get the words out. But another one-take type. Thank you for being with me again. You know what to do. Follow me on Instagram, #JasonComposes, because I write music in my spare time. You can go to X, Culture Confederacy, at Culture Confed 1 on X. Now you can find me at Substack. This is the Culture Confederacy saying peace out. Stay safe, everybody. God bless this thing called the United States. I'll catch you next time, and y'all have a great Friday night. Take care.